Right, all you listeners of the madness and anyone lucky enough to catch this show in their AM/FM dials, welcome to yet another unpredictable, unplanned, unseasoned, and now, under a 15-minute wait due to rush hour traffic of madness edition of Under the Radar. I am your host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, and seeing the fact that we're here to bring you into a pre-weekend excitement to get you directly into a weekend, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's going to happen on this very special Rush Hour Madness edition of Under the Radar. Because we kick things off with another exciting edition of yesterday's news. And exciting because we got another pair of scissors for it. Yeah, they look good. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out some screenshots and whatnots from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for another edition of the Four Squared Delight. And speaking of the beyond, folks, we adjust the tie on our Rod Sterling suits and open up that fifth dimension door directly to the Indy Zone. With plenty of cool games this week, too. Nice. Also, besides that, we find out which one of you crazy stunners is most likely going to go into the weekend with a neck brace for another edition of the Wild World of Stunts. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, that would be the best case scenario for them. Just a neck brace. Oh, is it going to get any worse? And he said I just jinxed him. Of course. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before those infomercials flicker on and off your television sets, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and for any of you listening at home, ease back those recliners, cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we get ready to go under the radar. Right, all you listeners of the madness, welcome back to Under the Radar. And for those wondering out there, no, we weren't kidding about the whole traffic thing for the intro, because, yeah, there was a whole back and forth of cars honking at each other, trying to race in between the intersection. Yeah, very scary stuff. But during the wait, we were able to make some tea. Yep. We decided to take a suggestion from Carl and the Maestro and go back to drinking tea. Best way to kick off your madness is with a little calming tea and music. And Carl and the Maestro said that's not what we told you to do. We told you to take a tea break because you started having steam coming out of your ears from the show being delayed. Oh, that's what you meant. Right. Well, besides taking Carl and the Maestro's suggestion in a new direction, I think it's time for us to take out our left-handed scissors to cut out some very interesting newspaper clippings from this past week and beyond for another edition of yesterday's news. And in our first yesterday's news story, and more or less hearty news. For you fans out there who always wanted to hear from the charismatic enigma on the Chris Van Vliet show, well, I have some good news for you. Because this week he would get interviewed by Chris Van Vliet, not only about his legendary moment at WrestleMania 17, but also from some other things throughout his career, including the controversial moment that happened at Victory Road. Yikes! But it's good to hear from Jeff Hardy, and not to mention all of the cool music that he was able to put out while he was wrestling. Not bad. Not bad at all. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool interview from Jeff Hardy to Chris Van Vliet, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Chris Van Vliet to check it out for yourself. And in other yesterday's news, and in music what if news, for you fans out there who always wondered a what-if scenario if 311 wrote the song Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter and how would it sound? Well, Matt Glocke would be here to answer that question for you, and it sounds pretty cool. Now, I think in the near future I would have to hear Don't Stand So Close to Me by Disturbed. You know, the Police doing a Disturbed song. Because if I remember correctly, they did one, didn't they? And according to Colin the Maestro, you're confusing them with Tears for Fears and Shout. Oh yeah, I forgot. They never did do a cover of a Police song. Always wish they would. And hopefully Matt Glocke can make that come true. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool cover of a what-if scenario from a man nominated for an Indie Cover Song of the Year for this year, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Matt Glocke to check it out for yourselves. And in other yesterday's news, and more or less Crypt TV movie news, or short film news, according to Colin the Maestro. Because of you out there who thought we were getting behind the times by not mentioning all of the cool things featured from Crypt TV, well, yeah, we're a little behind schedule, we'll admit it. But either way you look at it, folks, plenty of cool films to be had that we were able to watch over the past several days, including not only Orum, but as well as Cheat Meal, Bones, I Carry 'Em Wherever I Go, Too Slow, Holiday Fear, Kombucha, and Rejected, which reminded me of one of those late night infomercials, and it's pretty cool. Actually, all of them are cool. And I do recommend you definitely try to watch Rejected, because that never knew they had a floppy disk video camcorder before until I had to look it up online. Never knew they existed, but hey, you know, and I bet it was expensive as all hell according to Colin the Maestro, and yeah, I agree, definitely agree. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out all of these wonderful horror movie shorts that we'll do reviews for in the near future, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Crypt TV to check it out for yourselves. And here's hoping one day they go back to the horror universe and have Glamorella on there as well too for interviews. She was funny. Reminds me of a modern day Elvira, which I'm still looking to meet one day. And speaking of horror and to keep things in theme, folks, for you fans out there who never truly got a chance to see the first Hellraiser film in theaters, well, I have some good news for you. Because for the first time in well over 37 years, you'll get a chance. And according to Colin the Maestro, who's absolutely shocked about this, yep, as of next month, you'll get a chance to actually be able to watch Clive Barker's masterpiece of Hellraiser in theaters. Now, here's hoping this keeps a trend going so I can eventually see Hellraiser 3 in theaters, even though a lot of people were not a fan of that film, but the song at the end, absolutely awesome, because it was Motorhead's version of Hellraiser, which eventually got me to look up the Ozzy Osbourne version of the song. But music aside, folks, if you guys want to go ahead and check out what theater this said film is going to be coming to near you, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube, Twitter, and website of the man named the same, but it's just as critically acclaimed, only known as Bloody Disgusting, to check it out for yourselves. And as a bit of a heads up, Hellraiser will be making its way back to theaters as of February 5th and the 6th with a newly remastered 4K release. Nice! And in other yesterday's news and in more movie news, for you fans out there who loved the movie The Beekeeper that none other than Jason Statham was a part of and always wanted to see him in another action film, well, I have some good news for you. Because The Beekeeper now goes on to become a construction worker. And I got a feeling this is going to have the same theme as The Mechanic or of any other Jason Statham film with plenty of action scenes and hard-hitting moments that'll take place during this said film. And with him wearing that hard hat, it sort of reminds me of, I guess, Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was a construction worker in an action film. That didn't end well for the guys either, and I got a feeling this is going to be exactly the same. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool trailer for the film known as A Working Man, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as David Ayer to check it out for yourselves. As a bit of a heads up, this film will release as of March 28th of 2025. And according to Carl and the Maestro, we're gonna watch it, right? Yeah, of course we are. And with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special edition, Traffic Jam edition of yesterday's news. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more madness than you can shake a stick at as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't get lost in that madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. And we're back with the show of madness that takes tea breaks in between our madness, only known as Under the Radar. And Carl and the Maestro asked during the break, what sort of tea are we drinking this week? Lavender. Didn't know they came out with that sort of flavor, but it really keeps me calm while doing these shows, which is the last thing I need to be, according to Carl and the Maestro, to bring madness into your home. Because I got a feeling calm madness is not what you need. But we'll find a way how to make it work. But besides trying to bring calm madness into your very homes, I think it's time for us to bring some screenshots and whatnots from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for a very special double-stuffed edition of the 8 Squared Delight. And if you're wondering why Carl and the Maestro we found some during the break, let's get to it. And the first screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Haruka7 with their said screenshot from the video game of Shadow Maze. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our heroine as she makes her way to a warehouse fighting a litany list of different forms of creatures, not only using her shadow-made dragon to blast them from afar, but fusing with the said creature to pull off some cool dragon-oid-like attacks. Nice! And this automatically reminds me of, I guess Dragon Quest. Yeah, definitely reminds me of Dragon Quest. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game that not only when you fuse with this said monster you can pull off a cool fire-breathing attack, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to fly to new heights while fused with the said creature. And according to Carl and my show, not too entirely sure if it's a wise idea to fly high, especially when you're in a warehouse with those low-hanging pipes. Well, I'm smart enough to avoid the pipes. I just want to get a chance to fly up there to see if there's any secrets. And Carl and my show said, nope, nothing up there. You sure? I thought I saw something twinkle over in the corner next to that ceiling light. And he said that was my imagination, of course. But besides my imagination playing tricks on me once again, folks, the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Carlos Zarzuela with their said screenshot from the video game of Thriller Night. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows you taking it to a whole bunch of mutant-esque-like creatures, not only with kung fu thrust kicks, drop kicks, and even a tiger uppercut to take them out, and even taking out people on bikes that turns into skeletons. Not bad. Not bad at all. And before we forget, this screenshot actually kicks off with you going through an interdimensional door to go to this hell zone of a world, too. So yikes. Yikes. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Double Dragon, but with a little hint of Evil Dead in there as well, too. You know what? A large hint of Evil Dead, because I got a feeling someone got a hold of the Necronomicon to pull off this sort of madness. And here's hoping in the near future, not only you get a chance to play this alongside with your friends, but you also get a very special attack to be able to take out these zombies or mutants that came from another world. Because, you know, roundhouse kicks, split kicks, axe kicks, drop kicks, and even thrust kicks are good to take out a zombie, but at the same time, I got a feeling when you reach the big bad boss, you might need a little bit more than that. And Colin Michael said he's not surprised, or he's very surprised I didn't mention a tiger knee to take out an enemy. Well, I know with all those kicks, a knee is going to be standard, so there's no need for me to ask for one. Because I know it's going to be in there. But just in case it isn't, here's hoping it is. But besides trying to take out zombies or mutants with kung fu-like action, and speaking of kung fu action, the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of BP Dev with their said screenshot from the video game of Combat Fury. Now, before we read off this screenshot, folks, he would say, does not support gunplay mechanics, but we can claim it does to some degree? And the reason why in the world we say that, folks, is because during this said screenshot where we would see our hero taking it to one of the practice dummies in the field by not only using a shotgun with one hand, mind you, flipping over the said creature's head, shooting him into the air, hitting him with a shotgun blast mid-flight twice, they strike that 3 times, no 4 times, before sending it careening directly into the side of a warehouse wall with the word Combat Fury written right by it. Now, this automatically reminds me of something from Devil May Cry. Yep, definitely Devil May Cry with this one. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game that you can akimbo weapons in this game. I mean, granted, you do have a katana sword resting on your side while pulling off these aerial gung fu-like moves, but I got a feeling twin shotguns might be the way to go for this one, even though Carl in my show said that that shotgun had more ammo than those twin double-barrel shotguns that I was suggesting. Well, trust me, with the way, or hopefully they have different ammunition for what I'm about to say, with the way you can shoot those weapons, yeah, I got a feeling it's not going to make a world of difference. I hope. But besides gung fu action, for you at home in some crazy way from a cool game. The next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of DomAnt2 with their said screenshot from the video game of Synchro Thugs. And the screenshot that they delivered for this week shows our hero not only punching, kicking, and even using a blade-like weapon to take out a whole bunch of people street side, but would also be able to use a chain to try to use some martial arts skills to take people out, a rifle, a shotgun, and other craziness that would lead to the title screen for this said game known as Synchro Thugs. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of Postal. Yep, definitely reminds me of Postal with a little hint of Condemned in there as well too. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game, outside of getting a chance of using your environment as a weapon, even though Colin the Maestro said you probably could without even asking for it, but maybe, just maybe, have some form of survival mode to see how many people you can take out at once. And according to Colin the Maestro, your record would probably be 130. I would say 135, but I'll take the 130. I appreciate it. I really do. And the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of J.M. Dennison with their said screenshot from the video game of A Work in Progress. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our hero as he tries to take on a whole litany list of zombies and taking out trees as well too during the process. And saying, "Particles everywhere!" as a whole bunch of trees gets massacred, as well as the two zombies that got blown to bits, literally and figuratively. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of House of the Dead. Yep, definitely reminds me of that. And here's hoping in the near future that you get some form of upgraded weapon you could use to take it to these zombies, and even get a chance to use the environment to help you out too. Because I'm pretty sure that trailer on the right we forgot to mention, or small car, should have exploded, causing the zombies to blow up with it. But unfortunately, no explosion. And Colin the Maestro a little bit disappointed in it as well, so they're hoping for the same thing. And hoping that when you do blow it up, there's a grenade launcher or something in there waiting for you to help you take out the rest of the zombies that are definitely going to show up after all that noise you just made. Yeah, good point. And the next screenshot that we have up, besides trying to take out zombies in a local neighborhood, comes from the Twitter page of DD Distortion Dev with their said screenshot from the video game of Nightmare Operator. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our heroine as she puts her sword skills to use to take it to a whole bunch of yokais in a regular world. You know, I'm starting to see a theme here with all these screenshots, but nevertheless, folks, being able to use down slashes, up slashes, as well as a 3-hit combination, sending the yokai back to their world and making the world a little bit safer as the cameras fade to black. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of God Eater. Now, the reason why I say that, folks, is because the weapon that she was using that I completely forgot to mention switched from a gun directly into a sword to pull off that 3-hit combination. Not bad. Not bad. Now, here's hoping in the near future, just like in the classic game of God Eater, that you can actually come up with your own shot to take out these said creatures. Because I got a feeling that raining arc shot I came up with the laser spin blast will definitely be able to take out those creatures just in case the numbers become too great for you to take them out with a gun sword. And plus, I got a feeling depending on what the boss is like, you may need it. You may need it. And the last but not least screenshot that we have up for this week, besides taking it to yokai in the streets, comes from none other than CyberFist21 with their said screenshot for the video game of Ikara. Or Ikaraga? We'll go with the second one. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our heroine as she takes it to these bad guys in the streets by not only using a sleeper hold neck break move and even using a giant oversized halberd of a sword to knock someone into the ground and constantly juggle them on the ground, preventing them to get up. And even being able to do a classic move that I do believe Nightmare used to use in Soul Calibur, stabbing them and slamming them to the other side of the field. Not bad. Not bad at all. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a futuristic version of Fighting Force, with a little hint of Jet Set Radio with all the neon that's around. Now, here's hoping in the near future, since I already know they're going to have a Tiger Knee, you also get a chance to take out one of the bad guys in this game with a modified version of a Hurricanrana. Now, Carl in the Maestro said, why in the world would you resort yourself to close quarter combat if you got a sword? Well, she was able to do a sleeper neck breaker to somebody during this, even though she had a sword. So why can't she do more? And I got a feeling a cool finishing move that she may be able to do in the future is probably slam the sword on the ground and Hurricanrana them into the sword. Got a feeling that would work. Carl and the Maestro just shaking their head over in the corner from that one, but yeah, I think it'll work. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool screenshots and whatnots from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter pages of not only Octo Curio, Oliver Snyders, Playing Indies, Indie Rhymes, Shot_Games, Alpha Beta Gamer, or even under the hashtag of Screenshot Saturday. But if you guys want to go ahead and check out the screenshots that we like for this week and get a further interpretation of it for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to our Twitter page, only known as the WH and 0012, where Carl and the Maestro decided to make a screenshot folder called Fighting Screenshots. Yeah, I was a little confused with it because they actually had somebody with a fist actually punching the word Fighting Screenshots, causing it to break. Impressive. Impressive. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we take a trip directly into the Indy Zone as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't switch that dial away from the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you indie game lovers and listeners of the madness alike out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's screenshot of the week goes to, and drumroll said Carl and the Maestro, none other than CyberFist21 screenshot of Ikara Game. And also goes to none other than Rukia, with their said screenshot from the Twitter page of Hawaka7. And the reason why in the world these two screenshots got the screenshot of the week for this week? Well, for the first one, anytime you get a chance to close the gap and actually take somebody out with a sleeper neck breaker after using a long sword and even juggle them on the ground, definitely worth mentioning on this show. And for the first one, anytime you get a chance to fuse with a dragon friend you have to help you take bad guys out in a quicker fashion, it's definitely something that's out of this world. And speaking of things that are out of this world, folks, I think it's time for us to adjust the tie on our Rod Sterling suits to check out a whole bunch of games from the fifth dimension and beyond, as we take another special trip directly to the Indy Zone. And look, Carl and Maestro, Over there in the corner next to that teapot. There's some indie games. Let's go grab them. And the first game that we have up comes from the developers Alawar with their said game of They Always Run. And this game currently available for the low price of $2.99. And for those who want the Alawar Collection Bundle, you can get it for as low as $34.22. Not bad. Next game we have up comes from the developers Bad Bones with their said game of Verge World. And this game will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you. But for those who can't wait for that release date, there's a demo right there for you right now. Not bad. Not bad. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Eli Siegel with their said game of Wonderlust. And this game will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you, so make sure you add it to your wish list to know when it comes out. Next game after that comes from the developers TBJBU2 Originals with their said game of Oblivion Apocalypse. And on a side note, very beautiful castle during one of these screenshots. Can't wait to see if you can live in that. Bubba, to get back on track and what Carl and the Maestro said, stop paying attention to the architecture in that game. This game will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you, so make sure you add it to your wish list to know when it comes out. No, I did. Especially with that castle. But besides mentioning castles, folks, next game we have up comes from the developers It's Stone Inc. with their said game of a trio, The Dark Wild. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers The Pixel Hunt. Nice developer name, by the way, with their said game of The Wreck. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. And for those who wants to try it before you buy it, you can. There's a demo currently available for it. Next game after that comes from the developers Idorado Vencetil, or Venicet. According to Carl and the Maestro, we were right with the second one, with their said game of The Inspector. And this game will be released as of 2025, but for those who can't wait for that release date, make sure you add it to your wish list, because Carl and the Maestro said there's no demo for it. Yeah, thanks for that, guys, thanks. And the next game that we have up straight from the ether comes from the developers X-Anomaly with their said game of Roboholic. And this game currently available, not just yet, but you can access the playtest to request access to play the game. Not bad. And it will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you, so make sure you request the chance to be a part of the playtest to be a Roboholic. Right? But besides trying to be a robot, folks, next game we have up comes from the developers Panic Arcade. Nice name, by the way, with their said game of Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. And the fact that it has one of those wind-up mechanical things in the back for the taxi cab, pretty cool, pretty cool. And this game currently available for a low price of $16.99. And for those out there who wants to try it before you buy it, there is currently a demo for it. And in good news, your main progress from the demo transfers for the full game. Cool. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Emmanuel NM with their said game of Idiotic, the game. And this game currently available for the low price of $9.99. And for those who wants to download a demo before you buy it, you can. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers The Pixel Hunt. Ico and Art France with their said game of Inua, a story in ice and time. Ooh. Ah. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99. But for those who wants to get the bundle, you can get it for as low as $31.97. Good deal. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Foolish Mortal Games and Michael Long with their said game of Kaiju Wars. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. And even has a demo that you can try before you buy the game. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Antonio Ferre with their said game of Undetected. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99 and currently has a demo that you can try before you buy it. And the next game that we have up comes from the developer Alexander Van Den Buick. Nice name, by the way, with their said game of Shapebreaker Tower Defense Deck Builder. And this game currently available for the low price of $4.99. But for those who wants to try it before you buy it, well, you can. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Outfox Games with their said game of Ritual Night. And this game currently available for the low price of $4.99. Next game after that comes from the developers DUNI. Nice developer name, by the way, with their said game of Feed All Monsters. And this game currently available for the low price of $2.99. Next game after that, folks, comes from none other than the developers of Xenobits with their said game of Exogate Initiative. And this game currently available for the low price of $24.99. And the last but not least game that we have up for this week comes from the developers Monster Studios with their said game of God Machine Shogun Cyber Metal Arena. And this game will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you, so make sure you add it to your wish list to know when it comes out. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way through the fifth dimension that we weren't able to grab in enough time to mention during this show, then you can head on over to the Steam machine, only known as store.steampowered.com, and look up the page known as the Beyond Indie DreamHack Showcase to check out a whole bunch of games that are just out of this world. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another spine-tingling, back-breaking edition of the Wild World of Stunts right after this. So don't switch that dial for the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you risk takers and backbringers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And now it's time for us to find out which one of you crazy stunners is going to wear out your health insurance before the end of this first month of the year, as we leap into another edition of the Wild World of Stunts. And the first stunt that we have up comes from the femme fatales of the sky themselves, Vinewood on Fire, with their said stunt of Through the Bridge. And they requested me to say it like that before mentioning the stunt. And the reason why, folks, is because this week, besides being an aerial activist, we would see Vinewood on Fire become a seamstress by threading the needle directly through a bridge. And not any bridge, folks, but the bridge that overlooks the giant oversized mountain just a couple of feet away from Mount Chiliad. That giant train bridge that I don't remember the name of. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, it's known as the Old Man's Bridge. Well, how do you know that? Well, by the time you hit to the bottom of it, you'll be an old man, apparently. I never knew that. But either way you look at it, folks, during this said stunt, we would see not only Vinewood on Fire, but another student that went by the name of Mike, who would decide to try to thread the needle first by saying, "Get some!" right before jumping off that bridge, and I got a feeling he got something all right. And it's gonna be a concussion or a separated shoulder, because he would go flying off that bridge at least 60, maybe 70 miles per hour and land shoulder first on the bottom trestle of that bridge. And you can hear it during the video too, a loud boom. So yeah, Doc, how's he doing? Apparently, according to the doctor, it's not good. The separated shoulder comment I made was true, but it's not separated, it's broken. So he's got a broken shoulder. He broke his leg on the fall, and to make matters worse, gave himself a concussion when he landed in the water. And may have just shattered his spinal cord as well, too. Ouch! Ouch! And the next stunt that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Giant Squidology. Nice name, by the way, with their said screenshot from the video game of Sword of the Sea. Nice name for the game, too. And I can see the reason why in the world they called it Sword of the Sea, because we would see our sword surfing hero here in the sands, making his way through the sands with said sword he's surfing on to pull off not only a kickflip, but also a 360, landing on that fresh sand like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove. And the fact that he was even able to pull off a McTwist before the second landing, even better. And the PR department, as well as Carl and the Maestro, is giving this stunt, as well as the stunt prior, a 10. And a little rude by one of the PR department members holding up a bell for the other stunt that was mentioned after he got his bell rung. Well, he got more than his bell rung. He rung that bridge like a tuning fork. But either way you look at it, folks, next stunt we have up with Carl and the Maestro laughing over there in the corner comes from none other than Bite Parrot with their said stunt for the video game of Slow Crashers. And this week we would see our capybara friend here pulling off some Cancun-like flips. And how, folks? Well, he would get a little bit brazen this week and would decide to pull off a half moonsault before spinning the board like a pizza, landing on the board to complete the assault, and then making his way directly to another ramp to pull off a barrel roll 420 to land on his said snowboard and looking cool while doing so, all while wearing a chef hat like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove. Now, Carl and the Maestro, as well as the PR department, is asking me, how in the world is he able to keep that chef hat on? I don't know. Why don't you ask him? Oh wait, I forgot, he's an animal. I'm not sure if he has the skills of onomatopoeia to answer your question, but I got a feeling it's so cold, that hat is stuck to his head. And if you look carefully enough and zoom in, I'm pretty sure it's tied on his head as well too, which helps. the next stunt that we have up comes from none other than the Twitter page of Donut Studios with their said game of Abyss Unchained. Now, I know what you're thinking at home. Why in the world are we mentioning a stunt with a little girl actually chained to a ball and making her way through a creepy castle? Well, there's some gymnastics to be done here. Because during this said stunt, we would see her using the ball to throw forward, head directly toward one of these giant banisters there, swing her way up top, kick her way up the side of the wall, and be able to make her way all the way up to the top of this said Castle of Doom is what we're gonna call it, and look cool while doing so, like what, Carlin Maestro? Like it, love! And the fun part about all this is, folks, before going up to that upper platform, she would be able to pull off a front flip, all with a chain on her leg. How? How? And the PR department, as well as Carl and the Maestro, saying a lot of strength and, a lot of core strength is what they're saying. Core strength is what got her through this, and they're giving this stunt a 10 with a chain and a ball at the end of it. Right? Like it. And the next stunt that we have up, and according to Carl and the Maestro, the last but not least stunt that we have up for this week comes from none other than Lonely Mountains with their said stunt from the video game of Lonely Mountain. And I got a feeling this mountain is not that lonely, and at the same time will answer the question, if you try to pull off a stunt and accidentally hit a tree in the woods, will anybody hear you scream? Well, according to Carl and the Maestro, no. Because during this said stunt, Billy here, who decided to go off the ramp and to pull off a cool jump, would unfortunately realize that, yeah, you might need a little bit more air and momentum to pull that off, especially over that dead tree. That would grab him by the legs and shake him loose. Because then he would immediately get hit by one of the side of the branches and would hang out like clothes to dry back in the 1400s. And Carl and the Maestro said, but there was more to that stunt. I know there was, but we had to point out the injury first, because after that, we would see his friend Kevin actually being able to do a toe touch landing and land on his feet, or more or less on the skis, to land and go away from that little accident, like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like it, love! And with the PR department and Carl and the Maestro giving that stunt a 10, Doc, is he alright? After hitting that tree at that velocity, is he okay? Is he okay? Is he alright? And I'm looking at the doctor, looking at his medical sheet, looking at me, looking at the medical sheet, looking at the x-rays, and yeah, he's not alright. Not only he managed to puncture his lung on the side of that tree, I thought that looked familiar, but he would also be able to break both his legs, 3 ribs, and somehow end up with a concussion and a broken ankle upon impact. Well, how in the world did he break the ankle? Oh, ouch! Well, folks, from further observation, it looked like he twisted his ankle around that tree and hugged it like Nana's sweater when he got it for Christmas. Well, he's going to need a lot more than a sweater to recover from that one, and I don't like the looks of it at all. I really don't. Yeesh. Did not see that, and I didn't need to see that. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other crazy stunts of people getting themselves maimed for unnecessary fame, then you can go ahead and head on over to the said Rockstar Social Club page of one man only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com under the video section to check out which one of these insane stunners is most likely going to have an unhappy new year after ending up in the hospital for the basic part of the first month of this new year with old injuries, according to Carl and the Maestro. Great way to spin it too. I was looking for a word for it, but you got it. You got it. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you graveyard shift racers out there trying to fight your way through traffic, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week goes to none other than Giant Squidology with their said stunt from the video game of Giant Squid. And also goes to none other than Lonely Mountains. Nate, strike that, according to Carl and the Maestro Donut Studios with their said screenshot from the video game of Abyss Unchained. And the reason why in the world these two stunts made it in for the stunt of the week for this week? Well, for the first one, anybody who can rocket, turbo boost, and do a McTwist on a giant oversized longsword and not lose balance definitely deserves to be mentioned during this part of the show. And the reason why in the world the second stunt made it in, well, if you're strong enough to do a front flip and make your way up the side of a building while chained to a giant heavy 300-pound ball, you definitely deserve to be mentioned during this show for your great acrobatic skills. And perfect 10 that pays the bills. But besides stunt skills that'll pay the bills, folks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and see who in the world was the best tracks for this said week for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Kamaji with their said track of the CMJ Random Stunt Race 1. Now, the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track for this week, not only because of the litany list of cars that you can race on during this said track with the exception of weaponized vehicles you know and love so much, but due to the sheer insanity of random cars that were thrown in during this race as well too. And the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there is to make sure when you get to the parts with the wall rides that you go with the flow, bro. Go with the flow. Because if you don't, there's a high possibility that you will be flowing into the river and it will cost you during this said race. And also make sure you know how to use every car available to your disposal because it might be featured during the said race. But shh, don't tell nobody. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Tromarty68 with their said track of the T68 Trenchway Ran Them All. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, not only because of all of the cars you get a chance to use with the exception of those weaponized vehicles you know and love so much, but also due to the sheer insanity of the random cars featured during this race as well too. And to make matters worse, on top of all of that, it's a figure 8 race. So you can figure out how long it's gonna take for you to get T-boned, or should I say, T-boned by your opponent during this said track. And the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there, especially for those in the lead, is to make sure you watch out for that intersection in the figure of the figure 8. Because if you don't, yeah, remember what I said earlier about a T-bone? You might be going to Outback Steakhouse and getting one after this one. So yeah, watch out for crosstown traffic. And that goes for all the racers during this race too. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Mr. Mac Henry, nice name by the way, with their said track of the Schizodrome. Why in the world that sounds like a device that an evil genius came up with, and I got a feeling with this track, we might have found him. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, not only because of options to go right or left in this insane track, but also because of the litany list of vehicles you get a chance to use, with the exception of vans and weaponized vehicles you can use during this race. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there, no matter what car you pick, make sure it's fast enough to handle the loops during this said race. Because if it's not, let's just say that you might get dominated by the schizodrome. Which, once again, sounds like a device that an evil genius came up with. Really does. And the next track that we have up, besides evil creations from evil geniuses, comes from the creator known as Psycom. Nice name, by the way, with their said track of Our Rally, Snowy Mountain. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, well, for two reasons. One, because this track reminds me a lot, and I do mean a lot, of the old Rallycross game I played back in the day, with a little hint of a couple of those motorsports games that you would play back in the day too. And also because of the fact that you get a chance to use cycles and motorcycles during this race as well. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there, unless you want to break your controller tapping it to death, is trying to use the said motorcycles instead of cycles. And also be careful on the sharp turns with the motorcycle or the cycle, because it is a snowy mountain. And you lose your grip, you're going to lose your place in first or whatever place you were in prior to the crash you're going to experience during this said race. So yeah, take it easy on the turns. And hopefully you'll get that pole position and not get stuck to it due to the cold weather. Yeah. And the last but certainly not least track that we have up for this week, picked by Carl, the maestro, and the PR department, most likely from their Netflix selection, comes from the creator Goku X33 with their said track of the Squid Race. I'm not surprised. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this said track, not only because it gives you a chance to use your modified cars from the How's Special Works, but also due to all the tubular moments that you will have during this said race, and other crazy moments during this race as well too. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this said track, as we would for every single tube race, is to make sure you know which way is up when you switch from tube to track. Because if you don't, you will shoot toward the ground like a bullet and most likely explode upon impact, which will cost you during this said race. So yeah, make sure you know which way is up and have fun, like for all of these tracks. Yeah, best advice we can give you. And if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out any other cool tracks that we mentioned for this week, plus other tracks we included in playlist form, then you can head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and check out the playlist entitled Jump Fight 3 to check out all of these cool tracks and more for yourselves. I guess with that said, wraps it up for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So stay tuned. Well, all you listeners of the madness, seeing the fact that the infomercials are starting to flicker on and off your television sets and we've got to get out of here before that truly happens, we might as well bring control of the television sets back to you, the listeners of the madness at home, as we bring Under the Radar for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of this madness we were able to bring you for this week, we got you covered, because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Under the Radar 477. And apparently, according to Call of the Maestro, the tea they got me cost $4.77. Yikes, that's a bit high. But they said the peppermint one would have cost me $12. What is a peppermint made of gold? And if you guys want to figure out what other crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this year to fist, like tea that I got a feeling has shivers of gold in it with that price, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Twitter, and Discord pages, still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent Double 012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the listeners of the madness out there, for listening in to a very special rush hour of Madness edition of Under the Radar. If you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Ace Ventura trying to chase that guy down in the movie Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls. Yeah, you know the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and they're apparently wearing an Ace Ventura shirt and says if it's like it, love. I knew you were gonna go there too. I knew you were. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music is featured during a Jim Carrey film in the near future. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of people's music that was featured during something that is just as crazy as a Jim Carrey flick, we would like to thank our musical guests for this week, none other than Carl and the Maestro, with their said songs of heavy radio static interference that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show. And of course, for the song you're listening to right now of B-Movie Metal Director's Cut, that's currently being featured during the outro as we speak for this week's edition of Under the Radar. Like always, guys, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but certainly not least, we would like to thank, you, the indie gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet video game hits, clips, tracks, and stunts that we had a chance to mention during this week's show. Like always, guys, keep them coming. And to you crazy stunners out there, according to Call of the Maestro, not only they're giving you a special box of tea to celebrate your cool stunts, but also apparently this tea cap they were able to find. Isn't that just a teapot with a logo on the side of it saying Under the Radar? They said yes, but it should work as a helmet too. You sure about that? Is there any padding in this thing? Oh, it is. And apparently there's tea in here too. How in the world did you pull that off? Apparently they tried to use that as a teapot for the tea we drank today. Okay, well, enjoy the helmet, and we can't wait to see what sort of crazy stunts you guys and gals out there got planned in the future. And you never know what show might be coming around the corner next. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there, we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and I guess for a team broadcast like no other, saying, loser. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And always remember, don't you ever forget, No matter what time of the day this show may air, during whatever sort of traffic jam that decides to try to stop it with a whole bunch of cars trying to race through like we're on a Matchbox set in an hour where traffic is at its worst, but we're at our best delivering madness into your homes in the best way we know how to get you ready for a weekend before heading into another week that you'll definitely be able to take on thanks to the madness we were able to deliver. To keep flying low and stay under the radar. Good night, everybody.